Hi there. It's October 31st, and we're going to do Proverbs 31, the last chapter in Proverbs, and the last day of October. Now, Proverbs 31 has the sayings of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance that his mother taught him. That's the first 9 verses, and then verses 10 through, verses 10 through 31 is actually, it's one of the most famous in the Proverbs. And that was actually, these weren't written by Proverbs, but 10 through 31 is actually an acrostic poem. Okay? And an acrostic poem is something that follows the letters. You know, this in the original Hebrew, it went by the letters of the alphabet successively, very much like a nursery rhyme today. A is for apple, and B is for bear, and C is for children who, and so on and so on. It completely loses that in the translation, of course, but it's very good advice. So let's jump over there, and we will begin the sayings of King Lemuel. Okay? The sayings of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance his mother taught him. Listen, my son, listen, son of my womb. Listen, my son, the answer to my prayers. Do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. And Lemuel was a king, so she was giving him kingly advice. It is not for kings, Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and deprive all of the oppressed of their rights. Right. Now these verses are kind of famous. People use them. We'll say that. Okay. Let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. So, there is a verse that says, let the poor and perishing drink beer. That's been used quite a bit. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. Okay. There are people who can't defend themselves, And there's too many. Rich people will sue poor people because they said something, knowing that they can't defend themselves because, a lot of lawsuits today, all you have to do is wait until the other side's broke and they'll give up and you win. It happens a lot more than you think. So that's the sayings of King Lemuel's mother. Okay. And this is the acrostic poem. We'll read the thing. Verses 10 to 31, an acrostic poem, the verses of which begin with the successive letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Okay. I said it would have been like the ABCs. Okay, verse 10. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and a faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. I like that. Her honor for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. So, that is the end of Proverbs 31, in a very famous poem about how a good wife is a good wife. Pretty high values to try and live up to. But, yep. That is. Let's see what we highlighted. 31:6. Kings and rulers should not drink. Okay. Now we know. Donald Trump never drank. He doesn't drink alcohol. Not because he's afraid that he'll, forget what's been decreed and deprived all the oppressed of their rights. But they're not supposed to get drunk, because if they get drunk, then their advisors, can take advantage of them. Sign this, you promised to sign this. And so he signs it in a drunken stupor and then wakes up and finds out that he's decreed something that he would have never decreed had he been sober. So verse 6 says, let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. Sometimes it helps to just forget your troubles for a while. It doesn't say to get drunk, Nowhere in the Bible does it say to get drunk. In fact, it speaks against getting drunk all over the Bible. But for the poor to have a beer, have a barbecue with friends, just forget their trouble for a while, that's a good thing. Verse 8, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. Right. Always. Always. And then there's the poem. Didn't highlight any of this. I mean, it's all the things that a wife of noble character. I did highlight verse 30. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Right. That should be your main aspect for a wife or a husband taking care of a wife, that she fears the Lord. And since you are the head of your wife, as Christ was the head of the church, it's your responsibility that she fear the Lord. You can draw her closer just by fearing the Lord yourself. So, that was the end of Proverbs for October. We're going to start this again tomorrow, of course. And I think we're going to use the New American Standard next time. The New American Standard was actually translated from the King James. They didn't go back to, like the NIV didn't use any Bibles. They went all the way back to the original Hebrew and the original manuscripts and started all over again. And it took them, a number of years to actually translate and make the NIV. It's one of the most used Bibles in the world. But we'll use the New American Standard. I use that a lot. Before the NIV was out, I used that a lot. So, that's Proverbs for October. Join me again for November, and we'll start this over again. Until then, keep praying. The world's in trouble, and we're getting towards the end. You got to be able to feel it. See you tomorrow.